Okay, think about it for a second. Your air conditioning, right? Kicking on during heat wave. Or just the refrigerator humming away in your kitchen. Maybe even the cold air when you walk down the freezer aisle. We kind of take these for granted, but have you ever really thought about what's inside those systems? What's actually doing the cooling? Well, often the answer involves these substances called refrigerants, and this is where it gets, well, a bit complicated. Because while they're vital for modern life, many traditional refrigerants have a really significant environmental downside. When they leak, and they often do, they can be incredibly potent greenhouse gases. Much worse than CO2, actually. It's this sort of hidden climate impact happening all around us. And that is exactly why today we're diving into LEED BD+C version 5. Specifically, we're looking at a mandatory requirement, Energy and Atmosphere Prerequisite 5, officially called Fundamental Refrigerant Management.
Exactly. And this EAP5, it's not just, ticking a box. It has a really critical mission pushing for a faster phase out of refrigerants with high global warming potential, that's GWP, and crucially, cutting down on leaks. It's a really targeted effort to tackle an urgent environmental issue that, frankly, doesn't get enough attention given its impact.
Okay, so let's unpack that. What does this prerequisite actually mean for building projects? Why is it considered so fundamental for the climate? And maybe most importantly for project teams, how do you actually comply? Let's get into it. So starting with that name, Fundamental Refrigerant Management. Why is this particular issue, out of everything LEED covers, considered so basic, so fundamental?
Well, it really boils down to the sheer potency of these substances as greenhouse gases. The official intent language for EAP5 makes it clear. It's specifically about cutting greenhouse gas emissions from refrigerants, speeding up the phase out of the worst offenders, the high GWP ones, and minimizing leaks. It hits environmental safety and regulatory compliance. You see, when these chemicals escape, their warming effect can be thousands of times greater than carbon dioxide, pound for pound. So stopping leaks and switching to better alternatives is, well, fundamental to climate action in buildings.
Thousands of times.
Yeah.
Wow, okay, that makes the fundamental part crystal clear. So given that huge impact, how does it actually, structure this? What are the paths for a project team trying to meet this EAP5 prerequisite?
Right. Tel Aviv gives projects two basic options here. Two distinct pathways to show they're meeting the requirement. The first one, option one, it's pretty straightforward, though maybe less common overall. It's called no refrigerants. Basically, the project just completely avoids using any refrigerants that fall within the scope of the prerequisite. Simple as that.
No refrigerants at all. That sounds challenging, especially for larger buildings. How is that actually achieved in practice? What kind of strategies make that possible?
It definitely requires smart design. You might see things like really advanced passive cooling strategies, designing the building envelope, orientation, shading to minimize heat gain in the first place, or maximizing natural ventilation. Sometimes there are alternative cooling technologies that just don't use traditional refrigerants. Think evaporative cooling in some climates, or, district energy systems using chilled water from a central plant that might use low-impact refrigerants outside the project boundary. It takes creativity.
Okay, so that's the ideal scenario, maybe, but probably not feasible for every project.
Right.
I assume most buildings will use refrigerants. So what's option two? What do they need to do?
That's right. Option two is refrigerants used. And yeah, this is the more typical pathway. If a project uses refrigerants, it needs to follow 4 specific actions to comply.
4 actions. Okay, let's break those down. What's the first one?
First, you need a complete refrigerant inventory. This isn't just a rough estimate, it's a detailed list. You need to document every single type of refrigerant used in all the equipment. You need its specific global warming potential value, the exact amount, like the charge weight in each piece of equipment, and then you sum it all up for a total project-wide GWP impact from all refrigerants. It's about knowing exactly what you have.
Transparency, basically.
Okay.
Know your impact. What comes next? Action number 2.
Action 2 is a clear prohibition. Prohibit HCFC refrigerants in new equipment. This is non-negotiable for new installs. You simply cannot install any new HVAC or refrigeration equipment that contains hydrochlorofluorocarbons or HCFCs.
HCFCs, that sounds familiar, like R22, is that one of them? Why this specific ban on those in new equipment?
Exactly. R22 is the classic example. It was used everywhere for decades. The reason for the ban is twofold. HCFCs deplete the ozone layer, and they have very high global warming potentials. They're already being phased out globally under the Montreal Protocol and its amendments. So LEI is essentially reinforcing that phase out and making sure certified buildings aren't installing technology that's already on its way out and known to be harmful. It's about avoiding locking in old, damaging tech.
Got it. So no new HCFCs. That makes sense. What's the third action? You mentioned it involves design choices.
Right. Number 3 is about proactive planning. Evaluate lower GWP alternatives. This happens during the design phase. If the design team is considering using any refrigerant with a GWP higher than 700, which is still quite common for some applications, they have to formally evaluate and document alternatives. The whole point is to push the design towards selecting lower impact options right from the start, whenever technically feasible. It forces the conversation about better choices early on.
Okay, proactive evaluation. Makes sense. And the final one, number 4. This sounds like it's about keeping things running right.
Exactly. The fourth action is crucial for long-term impact: leak detection and repair. Given how potent these gases are, even small leaks add up fast. So the requirement is for comprehensive leak inspections on all refrigerant-containing equipment, both new and any existing systems within the project scope. And this has to happen before the project is completed. If any leaks are found, they must be repaired promptly. And there's a specific call-out for systems assembled on site.
Oh, yeah. What's special about those?
Well, for field charge systems, you have to perform leak checks, vacuum checks, and pressure checks before you even put the refrigerant in. It's about ensuring the system integrity right from the start, preventing leaks before they even begin.
That sounds like a really practical, boots-on-the-ground requirement. Okay, so those 4 actions cover the mandatory compliance for projects using refrigerants. But what if a project wants to do more, to really lead the way? Are there recognized best practices beyond just meeting EAP5?
Oh, absolutely. And this is where you see real leadership. Leading projects often engage their mechanical engineers much earlier and more deeply in the design process. They're not just told, cool this space, but are part of the conversation about how to cool it with the lowest environmental impact, specifically looking at low GWP refrigerant options from day one.
So early collaboration is key. What else?
Prioritizing environmentally preferable refrigerants is huge. This means actively seeking out and using things like natural refrigerant CO2, ammonia, certain hydrocarbons like propane, where codes allow, which have ultra-low GWPs, or looking seriously at the newer generation HFOs, hydrofluorofins, which are synthetic but designed for much lower GWP than the HFCs they often replace.
Okay,
And then there's technology and process. Implementing really robust, maybe even continuous leak detection systems rather than just periodic checks. Catching leaks the moment they start. And critically, investing in training for the building maintenance staff. They're the ones on the front lines. They need to know how to properly inspect, maintain, and service this equipment to keep it tight throughout its life. Proper handling during service is just as important as the initial install.
Right, it's not just design, it's ongoing operation too. So these best practices really elevate a project's commitment, making it much more holistic.
Definitely. It shows a deeper understanding of the issue and a commitment that goes beyond just checking the LED prerequisite box. And it all circles back to why this matters so much. Let's be blunt. Refrigerant leaks are a significant driver of climate change. These aren't trivial emissions.
Yeah, that GWP comparison really hammered it home earlier.
Yeah.
So meeting this fundamental prerequisite, EAP5, it's a direct contribution, right? A project is actively lowering its climate footprint by managing these chemicals better.
Precisely. It aligns the project with global efforts to transition away from harmful refrigerants. It's a clear demonstration of responsible, sustainable design thinking. It says, we understand this impact and we're addressing it.
So we started with something as simple as the cool air from a vent, and we've ended up talking about global climate agreements and complex chemical properties. It's amazing how a seemingly small technical detail like the type of refrigerant used has such a massive role.
It really does. It underscores that every choice in building design matters, even the ones hidden inside the machinery. The takeaway is pretty clear, I think. Choose these things responsibly, manage them carefully. It directly helps protect our climate.
A powerful reminder. So maybe next time you feel that cool air, you'll think a little differently about what's behind it. Perhaps you'll even get curious and look up the GWP of common refrigerants like the one in your own car or home AC. It's definitely food for thought.